Hello there, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we're continuing on with the My Tiers series, and here to talk a little best ball quarterback is Bradley Stalder. I'm glad I listened to the Mind of Mansion yesterday because I had the thumbnail up and I had it as Stadler, and I thought it was Stadler, and then I heard Matt go, Stadler, Stalder, Stalder, Stadler, and I'm going, fuck, I'm glad Matt Kelly made the mistake before I did.
Yeah,
so welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you inviting me on. It's a rite of passage for fantasy football analysts to butcher my name. So, it's Matt. And then I know you've been workshopping at Theo Greminger, Billy Muzio have all had their time and way with the last name Stalder, but it is Stalder. And I appreciate you inviting me on. It's going to be a lot of fun chopping it up.
Don't feel bad. You can tell the nights where I'm either coming straight from work or where you're like my 8th show of the day, because I'm terrible with names to begin with. But the truly bad nights are the ones where I either screw up my own name or I forget the name of my show. We've had a couple of rough ones. I also had one in the last series where it was Chris Boinagora from Player Profiler. So I focused so much on making sure I rehearsed his last name and I knew his last name that I completely butchered my own fucking name. Don't know. Oh, no, you know what it was? It wasn't mine. It was Chris. I got the Boinagura part wrong, but mispronounced Chris somehow. I stuttered and I'm going, I don't fucking brain fart. I don't know what the hell happened, but it goes that way sometimes. So it's not always great. All right. Well, you want to take a second here to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at FFStalder, Stalder. You can find some of my work on Player Profiler, playerprofiler.com. I just dropped an article yesterday about the reasons why, especially far away from the start of the season, you should be 0 RB drafting or hero RB drafting. There's not advantage to bully running back at the beginning of the offseason. So it was a very straightforward, very easy read article, debut article on Player Profiler. And I also have bestbellfantasy.com, and I'll be releasing here in the next couple of weeks a best bell upside guide. There is nothing like it in the industry. Instead of focusing on consistency guides, those exist. Instead of talking about players and just giving hot takes in certain books, this is going to be focused on historical upside and ranges of outcomes for players at different positions. And it's going to be very unique. And I think going to be one of those important missing pieces for your best ball league. So that's coming out very shortly. It's going to be available wherever I can get it out available to you. So make sure you're checking all that out. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to highlight some of that there, Aaron.
I liked where you're starting there with the rookies the running backs in the offseason. I had a buddy in one of my leagues say, I'm really bad at running back. I need to trade for someone. Who should I trade for right now in the offseason? I said, nobody. There's no running back you like? No, don't trade for fucking veteran running backs in the offseason. They literally can only go down in stock. There's no good outcome. They get hurt. They acquire someone. There's no benefit to trading for whoever you want. Right? You want to trade for Dalvin Cook? Wait and trade for him a week before training camp. Don't do it now. So,
yeah, the average veteran running back dropped 17% in ADP value on Underdog from January to May. To compare, the average veteran wide receiver only dropped 3%.
Yeah, it's a losing bet. Don't do it. All right, well, let's get into it here. First off, we have Josh Allen. In case you can't see those tiers because the stupid site doesn't let me make them bigger, we have elite, great, good, average, below average, bad. If you can read them and want to say them, fine. If you want to go by colors, cool. If you want to go by numbers, whatever you can see. I'm not sure how it plays out on your screen, but where do you have Josh Allen?
Yeah, Josh Allen goes in that first tier. He's clearly in tier 1 for me. Last year, Josh Allen was in top 3 of rate of top 5 weeks. He has a career 84th percentile score of 31.81 points. And the reason why I make sure that he's in that elite tier, we all are drafting Josh Allen very early, but this context is for best ball. So we are concerned about upside. Josh Allen has the upside that is very interesting for us. In over the last 3 years, there is not a quarterback with a higher 84th percentile score among games played than Josh Allen. 34.53 is his 84th percentile. So, like, access to spike weeks is Josh Allen for sure in that elite tier.
Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett falls down into, I think, where do I have him? Even tier 6. I think he's
So
the
bad. Yeah. Yeah.
bottom
It's
tier.
I went by 36, top 36 for DLF ADP. So yeah, he's not someone you want even as your second quarterback. He's a bye week replacement or an injury replacement.
Yeah, so Jacoby Brissett, among quarterbacks that are being drafted, his 84th percentile score was 15 points. For reference, Josh Allen's 84th percentile is over 30 points. So yeah, you're getting Jacoby Brissett less than half of Josh Allen.
Well, we're moving on to Joe Burrow, and the good news is we are 6 minutes in, and we've already gotten through 2 guys, so you are well ahead of the pace of last time.
Just trying to keep it straightforward for you.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, his max score in 2022 was the 4th highest among quarterbacks, and he's going to end up in my tier 2 for our quarterbacks. Yeah, I think it's a clear tier break. He is one of the leaders in that tier 2. When you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in an offense that is able to dynamically do what they do, and we've seen it time and again. So Joe Burrow pretty clearly in that tier number 2, but not quite accessing the ceilings that Josh Allen does.
Derek Carr and his eyeliner.
Oh boy. So let me pull up Derek Carr here. Derek Carr ends up being in tier number 5 for me. He's at the top of tier number 5, but we're kind of disappointed with Derek Carr because his over the last 3 years, he's quarterback 22 in maximum score. He just has not gotten the spike weeks. And we have to be concerned that even with the addition of Michael Thomas, hopefully back to the New Orleans Saints offense, Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave, we're not going to see the pass heaviness that maybe we had seen elsewhere. New Orleans Saints added Kendry Miller. They added Jamal Williams, and Alvin Kamara is still there. The Saints only pass the ball 54% of the time, so pass volume is a concern, and the elite weapons are also a concern. I think that Chris Olave is good, but not elite.
Next up, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Cousins ends up at the top of tier 4 for me. Yeah. I know a lot of people like bumping him up, and I get that his ADP is higher than probably where I'm ranking him. But the reason why his ADP is bumped up is because the person who is drafting Kirk Cousins is probably the person who's drafted Justin Jefferson. And in best ball, you're probably stacking.
Exactly.
But by himself, Kirk Cousins was where is it? Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry, I picked the wrong sheet here.
It's all good. Take your time.
It's okay. He was quarterback 14 in my best bell value rating from last year. That's not what you want from your good or elite quarterbacks. So I'm concerned that Kirk Cousins isn't going to be able to access the ceilings that you want, despite the fact that Justin Jefferson will.
Next up, we have Justin Fields.
Justin Fields lands in tier 2. Ooh. He has pathway to be an elite scorer. He has the Lamar Jackson blueprint for rushing, but it's the pass volume. Look, I'll probably have to pay people, out lots of money if Justin Fields ends up throwing more than 30 passes in a game anytime this coming season. There were games last year where he was not even getting outside the teens in pass attempts. I think that'll jump up a little bit. Like I have Fields projected for about 20% more passes, but even then it's not enough of a pass volume to get into the elite tier. He's going to need extreme efficiency, which is not a good bet based on what we've seen historically from Fields. So he's only in the great tier.
Yeah, I'm not loving this offense, and he's living on efficiency and rushing. So, you're right. I think he's got solid upside, but it's somewhat a bit of a risk. Jimmy G, assuming he's healthy and in Vegas.
Now, there's a lot of assumptions there. He's tier 5 for me as well, below average. When you're tied to Devontae Adams, it's impossible for you to get into tier 6. But Jimmy Garoppolo last year had a 0.7% top 5 rate. That was quarterback 25. So accessing elite ceilings is not Jimmy Garoppolo's thing. And even his career top 5 rate is only 5.3%. That's not going to get us where we need to be. His max score last year was 25.4 fantasy points. That's his max. So he's below average.
I think that's fairly considerate to his feelings. I'm not even sure some weeks that he's that good.
But he's a good-looking guy, Aaron. He's a good-looking guy.
That he is. Both those guys in that tier look like they could be pirates or something. I don't know. Anyways, Geno Smith.
Geno Smith is one that I am shifting my opinion on. Actually, after my conversation with Matt Kelly earlier today, I asked Matt, can Geno Smith go from a high floor quarterback to an elite ceiling quarterback? And Matt said yes. With the addition of Jackson Smith and Jigba, the belief is that it's going to be an elevator and not just JSN eating into Lockett and eating into Metcalf. So I want to move Geno Smith into the bottom of tier 3.
I may have heard that. I think I checked in for part of that show. His shows are always so long, and he normally goes live during the day. So I end up listening to the the podcast feed several days later. But I think I was off today, and I think I checked in here and there in between podcasts, and I may have heard you actually say that. So,
but here's the thing: is Geno Smith he was quarterback 6 in rate of top 10 weeks, but he was quarterback 18 in terms of top 5 weeks. So if JSN was the missing piece of Geno accessing the elite ceiling, then wheels are up for these really cheap Geno at quarterback 16, quarterback 18 overall. I think we need to be maybe a little bit more aggressive based on the improvements that Seattle has shown in offense.
Next up, we have Jared Goff.
I think also tier 3. This tier 3 is very large. Goff was quarterback.
Tier 4? Tier 4?
Tier 3. Jared
You
Goff.
have no one in tier 3.
I should have Geno there. Let's put Geno.
Oh, okay. Sorry, maybe I misheard you. I thought you had Geno with Cousins.
Yep, Geno and Jared Goff, I think, are in tier 3.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Jared Goff was quarterback 7 last year in rate of top 5 weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown plus Jameson Williams near the end of the season. We're talking best ball leagues. That usually means it's a tournament setting. There are some season longs. We should probably move Jared Goff down a little bit in season long best ball, but in tournament settings, I think he is a perfect fit in the good tier.
Absolutely. He just seems to be one of those cheap QB2s you can just plug and play when you need him. More exciting here is Justin Herbert.
Herbert is at the top of tier 3. He has the ability to access tier 2. And I think that that's where, he should be, is at the top of 3, because there's some eyebrow raises of why was he so bad last year? Justin Herbert, only 4.3% rate of top 5 weeks last year, but his career rate is 24.5. That would put him, in tier 2. If his career rate was last year's rate, he would have been the quarterback 4 last year. But I think for right now, the hedge, given the disparity, is still in that good tier but I would move him even ahead of Geno there.
All righty. Now to a more questionable one. We have Sam Howell.
Ooh, Sam Howell ends up being in tier 4 for me, at the bottom of tier 4. There are ways in which the bottom falls out for Sam Howell, no doubt. The draft capital is not there for Sam Howell. We don't have a strong sample size on him from last year. We only have one starting game from him. He did play well. He has a rushing floor.
Yeah.
He had he come out with the Javonte Williams, De'Ami Brown, Michael Carter class, I wonder if we're talking about him in a different light. But with the lack of weapons at North Carolina, his final year there, I have concerns. So I think he's going to end up being at the bottom of the tier 4 for me.
From the bottom of the NFC East to the top, we have Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is the number 1 and in tier 1 for me. Last year, 52.6% of his weeks were top 5 weeks. His career rate is at 30%. He had 41.2 points was his max score. That was third best last season. And his 84th percentile score was the highest among all quarterbacks. And his expected 84th percentile score was second best among all quarterbacks. So he is in this elite tier along with Josh Allen.
Do you have him over Mahomes?
For this year, Mahomes, I mean, we can talk about Mahomes. Sure, let's do it. Mahomes is also, tier 1. I have it Hurts, Mahomes, and Allen in tier 1.
All right. You said you had him as your number 1, so I was surprised you had him over Mahomes and Allen, but can't fault it. Some of the numbers are definitely there. Anything's a possibility. Moving on, we have Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson fits into tier 2. He has historically met tier 1 standards, and he's also he had the second highest quarterback score last year among all quarterbacks, only behind Justin Fields. So he has a pathway to be the number 1 quarterback overall. However, because of maybe inefficiencies or reasons why we are concerned about the Baltimore offense, eyebrow raises of transition to a new offensive coordinator, offensive scheme, maybe passing the ball will expose a little bit more of his average ability as a passer.
Yeah.
And take away some of his rushing, because we want him to rush for fantasy. I think Lamar Jackson firmly is in tier 2 with tier 1 upside.
Yeah, I kind of see him as the bridge quarterback between tier 1 and tier 2. So I can't argue that. Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is tier 4 for me. Tier 4. He falls in that average category, but last year, Daniel Jones, top 10 in rate of top 5 weeks, and now he adds Darren Waller. So I wonder if maybe I'm too low on Daniel Jones and putting him in the average. I just have concerns. So. I have concerns that he is himself an average talent that has a good head coach, an offensive-minded head coach, and can access. I think he can jump into that good, but I think it'll be hard for Daniel Jones to access the great tier here.
Yeah, I don't really feel either way about it. I like the rushing upside for him, but I don't think he's anything more than average, so I will not argue it. Now for perhaps the most confusing one on the board, we have Trey Lance.
Trey Lance is in tier 5 for me. I have him behind Brock Purdy, but tier 5 is very large.
Yeah,
I have concerns about Trey Lance. We have not gotten a large enough sample size to know that he is good at the NFL level. The coaches have not indicated that. As I said, we don't have a strong sample size. Looking at his career, Trey Lance, despite starting a couple games, where is it? 18.5 is his career 84th percentile score. I mean, that's not great. Some players ahead of him, Davis Mills, Jimmy Garoppolo, Teddy Bridgewater, among a career 84th percentile. So we're only looking at the top 16% of his career. And Davis Mills, Jimmy Garoppolo, Teddy Bridgewater, Taylor Heineke are all higher in their career 84th percentile scores. So I have him in the below average tier. He's going to have to make some shifts for us to be in on Trey Lance.
If I wasn't already out, you lost me at Davis Mills. I'm out. I do think he's the week 1 starter. I believe my player profiler article stating that dropped today or maybe tomorrow.
Let's
I don't think Brock Purdy's going to be healthy for week 1. And if they really invested all that draft capital to then start Sam Darnold, they're idiots. So I think it's him week 1. Trevor Lawrence is up next.
Trevor Lawrence, this might surprise people. Maybe it won't. He is a tier 2 quarterback for me.
I can't argue it. It's a little spicy, but I think it's probably right.
Lawrence last year was quarterback 4 in rate of top 5 weeks, and then you add in Spike Week King Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you will about Calvin Ridley, but when he was on the Falcons playing alongside Julio Jones, even during that season, he played well. He was a target gobbler, 25% plus target share was his median over the last 2 years that he played. So I'm in on Trevor Lawrence continuing his ascension.
Like you said, the weapons they have there they're insane, and I definitely think he could very easily be the top of this tier by the end of the season. Moving down several tiers, we have Will Levis.
I mean, you buried the lead there. Will Levis in tier 5 for me. Yeah, second round draft capital, quarterback on Tennessee. The weapons aren't great. He fell dramatically in the NFL draft. He's got some elite skills, but we have to wonder, will the real Will Levis please stand up? Because in 2022, he was atrocious. In 2021, he was very good. So I wonder what we're going to get in 2023. Is he going to be able to beat out Ryan Tannehill? I'm not convinced, but maybe the Tennessee Titans say we're going to move on from Tannehill anyways, and he is going to be the starter. Levis is mobile enough, and he's got a really strong arm. So I think that putting him in the below average tier for now is the right play, despite the fact that he is a friend of the Best Bell Fantasy Podcast.
Yeah, he was my QB1 in this draft class, but you have to consider that I may spend far too much time listening to Cody Carpentier. So that might be why. Next up, we have Jordan Love.
Well, I have all the Packer paraphernalia behind me, so allow me to introduce you to Jordan Love, who is #bad at football. And I think that's going to be exposed this year.
No, like you seemed like you were loading into being really high on Jordan Love. And I said, I was thinking to myself, if he's high on Jordan Love, he might have too much paraphernalia, let alone Packers paraphernalia. So,
yes,
okay.
No.
You sandbagged me here and you faked me out. Then you said Jordan Love sucks.
Fake.
So we're good
fake there, Aaron.
So
Jordan Love goes into tier 5 for me. I have major concerns about the weapons. I have major concerns about pace of play. The offense will run through Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. The defense is good. They're not going to get into shootouts. Christian Watson is an upside play, but Jaden Reed in the second round was a bit of a stretch, and there aren't other pieces like at tight end. I know that we like the developmental prospects of Musgrave and Kraft, but those are years down the line. The Packers themselves were not in on Jordan Love because they did not give him the 5th-year option that they could have. So I'm out on Jordan Love. Give him to me in tier 5.
I agree. Mac Jones.
Mac Jones also tier 5. This is a player who we talk about Patrick Mahomes 30% of the time getting 25 fantasy points. Mac Jones has never had a 23-point game in his career. So tier 5.
Baker
Mayfield has proven time and again he is a bad quarterback on a
I didn't even wait.
Offense.
I just moved him to bad.
Yeah, there's no strong argument for him. Yeah, he ends up in tier 6.
Yeah, we're right to bad. Kyler
is a tier 3 quarterback, and I don't care about the ACL injury. he's going to be spending less time on the IR than I think people give him credit for. And last year, Kyler 31% career top 5 rate. That would have been 4th last year in that rate. So can access elite ceilings. I'm not worried. Tier 3.
I think he's a tier 2 quarterback the first month of the season and a tier 7 quarterback after Call of Duty comes out. Just saying. Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett ends up being in tier 5 for me. There are green flags for Kenny Pickett to ascend into the average or good, such as he's top 6 in PFF deep passing grade. There are other efficiency metrics that are also good, and he's surrounded by pretty decent pass catchers. But for right now, we need to see more of it from Kenny Pickett.
Dak Prescott.
Dak ends up being in tier 3 for me as well. His career rate of top 5 weeks, 26.9, and over the last 3 years, 34.8. That is accessing elite upside tiers. CeeDee Lamb is there, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, a year removed from the ACL. I think good things for Dak is on the horizon.
All right, we're going to have to go a little bit of rapid fire here. Brock Purdy.
Purdy goes in round tier 5 for me. The uncertainty about the elbow is my concern.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony Richardson, one of the wider range of outcomes I've ever seen. Where do you have him?
Tier 3, bottom of tier 3. He could have a Cam Newton season.
Or Jamarcus Russell one.
I don't know if we'll get there, but I think that Cam Newton top 5 season is within the range of outcomes for Anthony Richardson. We want to be drafting him.
So. I sure hope so. I have a lot of shares. Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder is a tier 5 quarterback. We like the weapons, but he's at best Alex Smith in this offense.
Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers is a tier 4 quarterback, buoyed by Garrett Wilson, but there aren't a lot of other upside plays. So I like Rodgers in that average to stack with Wilson.
God, I hate him. Matthew Stafford.
Stafford is also in tier 4. And we should not allow recency bias to get in the way of remembering that that Matt Stafford was at one point an upside pocket king, 13.8% career top 5 rate, and we like Cooper Kupp.
Let's go both of the remaining rookies here. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Most people have them in the same tier. Do you?
Tier 5, both of them. Yeah. Both not great offenses. Both
exactly.
And they don't offer enough on their legs to get them to the average quite yet.
From the young to the old, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, Tana Thrill is in tier 5 as well.
I like it. Tua
Tagovailoa is in tier 3 because Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can access winning weeks, and then Tua is just along for the ride.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, also tier 3. I think we are poised for a bounce back. Watson is quarterback 3 in career top 5 rate. So we want to be in on a bounce back for the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback.
And let's finish it up with Russell Wilson.
Russ ends up being in tier 4, but can easily get into tier 3 with a bounce back season. We know what he is. He is a career 20% top 5 rate. That is quarterback 11 amongst active quarterbacks. So I think that that's fine for him. I like stacking because he's quarterback 18 right now on Underdog Fantasy.
I like it. Well, that completes your tier list. Sorry we had to rush a bit at the end there to get under the time limit, but thanks again for joining me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you you including me and having me hop on, chopping it up. Appreciate it.
Love it. I'll have to have you again on the next series next month. Once again, this was my tiers. Today we did best ball quarterbacks with Bradley Stalder. I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks again, Bradley, for joining me. Take care, everyone.